All right, so for this game, looks like we have just a straight sequencing setup. We have 6 positions to go with, so we'll line that up accordingly. And we have 6 elements. We have F, G, H, we've got J, K, L, and nothing especially out of the ordinary here. Every single one of these is just going to go once. And yeah, I guess let's take a look at the rules. First rule says F has to go before both J and L. So F is before J and F is before L. Next, K would have to go before J. Now we've already got a J on the board, so let's take advantage of that. We can say the K has to go before the J, and J would have to go before the H, so this nicely connects. And lastly, L has to go before G, and again, we've already got an L here, so let's connect it in. We can say L is before the G. Now, at this stage, I guess one thing that's worth noting is in these situations, it's always a good idea to think about the first and the last positions. And it's worth noting the first position can really only be K or F. So we can kind of take note of that. And the last position can only be one of these two guys, H or G. So I'll just take note of that. Otherwise, it looks like this is pretty much everything we're going to need right there. So let's go. The questions. Number 1, which of the following cannot be true? So this is a global question, but we're still going to do this first just because we always do the first question first. So let's see. Answer choice A, could we have F in 2? And yeah, that seems okay, doesn't it? Because if F goes into 2, then K would go into 1, and the rest of these guys would just shuffle along. Answer choice B, could we have G3? And maybe we could have G, L, F in 3, 2, and 1, and then everything else would just go elsewhere. That seems fine. Answer choice C, could we have H in 4? And yeah, maybe, because before the H we have to have 3 elements, but we can fit that. If H goes here, we have room for 3 before, so that might be fine. Answer choice D, could we have K in 4? And maybe after the K we have to have J and H, which we have room for that. And E, can we have K5? And no, there we go. After the K we have to have 2 elements, so if the K was to go into 5, there's no way to fit them afterwards. The best answer to question number 1 is E. Next, let's take a look at the locals. Question number 3, we've got if G is before H. So if we have the G before the H, I mean, right away, that just kind of shifts this guy down to here, right? So really we're just going to end up with F before L before G before H, and then the J still has to go after the F, and the K still has to go before the J. And of course, the J still has to go before the H. So really, I guess the only thing that's really worth noting here is that the H will now get forced into the last position. And everybody else is still kind of flexible. There's still plenty of movement here. So let's take a look. The question asks, each of the following could be true, except so what cannot happen? A, G fourth. And that seems reasonable. We have 2 before, 1 after. That seems like something we can do. Answer choice B, can we have J third? And maybe we have to have 2 before the J and just the H afterwards. I think that's fine. Answer choice C, can we have K2? And maybe as long as F goes first, I don't see why not. Answer choice D, can we have L3? And again, perhaps L has to go before these guys and after this one, but again, that seems workable if L is in 3. Answer choice E, can we do L5? There it is. That's not going to work, because if L is in 5, we're going to have G and H afterwards, and we wouldn't have the room to accommodate them both. So best answer to question 3 is E. Next. So the next local is number 4, which says if L is before K. So let's see what we can do with that information. So if L is before the K, so I mean, after the K, we're going to have J and H. So we can kind of tack that on. And after the L, we still have to have G, and before the L, we still have to have F. So this kind of readjusts things a little bit. But now you'll notice that pretty much everybody is after F and L sequentially, right? So F and L are basically going to have to go into 1 and 2, and then G or K are going to go into 3. And then from there, the G can kind of shuffle everybody else going further down. G's a lot more flexible. The question now asks, which of the following could happen? Let's take a look. A, L3, and no, because L's already in 2. Next, L4, nope, it's already in 2. Next, H is before L, and no, there's no way to fit an H before that. Next, J is before G, And maybe we did say G can kind of move around between all these guys. So we could have had, for example, G go last and then J would go prior. So that looks like it's viable, just in case J before L, and no, there's no way to fit the J before the L. So the best answer to question number 4 is D. Next, so number 5 is a modifier. We'll come back to this one. Let's go back to question number 2, which says, which of the following must happen? Let's take a look. Answer choice A, F is before H. And actually, yeah, there it is. F definitely has to go before H. That much is true. The best answer to question number 2 is A. Just in case, though, let's take a quick look at the rest. J before G, and no, these guys don't have a direct connection. You could have pulled J and H into the last 2 positions. Answer choice B, K before G. And again, no, you could have had, for example, K, J, and H going into 4, 5, 6, and then F, L, G could have gone into 1, 2, 3. That would have worked. So that doesn't have to be true. Next, must we do L before H? And again, no, same thing. L and G could go into 5 and 6 respectively. So L could have gone after H. There's no direct connection between them. Lastly, L before J. And again, no, these guys don't directly connect to each other. So once again, best answer to question number 2 is A. Lastly, question number 5. Which of the following if we replaced the rule for F before J and L? So we're trying to replace this guy right here, that F is before J and L as well. So just as a reminder, for these kind of questions, we're looking for something that would get the job done, something that would ensure that F is before both J and L, but also something that always had to be true the entire time. Let's go. Answer choice A. Only K can go before F. Actually, that'll do it, won't it? Yeah, that works pretty well because first of all, it's true. The only thing that could have gone before F was K. Everybody else had to go after F. And moreover, if we implemented that as a rule that K is the only one that could go before the F, that means that everybody else, including J and L, will have to go after F. That'll do it. The best answer to question number 5 is A. Just in case though, let's take a look at the rest. Answer choice B. K must be released before L. First of all, that's not true. K didn't have to go before L. There wasn't a direct connection between them. In fact, we've seen this scenario, for example, where L before K. So this never had to be true. That already disqualifies it. Next, F must go first or second. Now that is true. Because all of these elements had to go after the F, it actually is true that F had to go first or second. But this wouldn't necessarily get the job done. This wouldn't ensure that F is before J and L. Because if you don't have this rule in place, answer choice C would allow you to place F into second, and then L, for example, could have gone into 1. So this wouldn't ensure that F is going to go before J and L. Answer choice D. F must go before K and L. That didn't have to be true. F didn't have to go before K, so that already disqualifies that. And E. Either F or K would go first. Now this is true. K and F are the only ones that could have gone first, but this wouldn't get the job done because if we implement this as a rule and say F or K has to go first, that would allow you to have K go first. And if that's the extent of the rule, then F would now be able to do whatever they wanted. It wouldn't have to go before both J and L. So this wouldn't be good enough. Once again, the best answer to question 5 is A.